want to welcome you on this very special day. And I'm so pleased to have Ruth with us. Ruth came to me years ago and said, we need to interview Gene about his Jewishness because he doesn't really talk about that. Gene told us so much about his history, about as a child running away from the Nazis and following his father's felt sense of which way to go and how to escape, and becoming fascinated with this phenomenon of the felt sense from that experience. And I just remember one moment where Gene smiled at us and said, I am thoroughly Jewish, but God isn't Jewish. Ruth and I were like, what? But we enjoyed his spirit about that. And Ruth is going to show us how this holiday, which is the holiest day of the year in the Jewish tradition, is such an important day for us. It's a day of reckoning. It's a day of putting one's life in order. It's a day of existential questions. It's a day of forgiveness. It's a day of reconciliation. It's a day of going forward. So I'm trying to learn how to say Shana Tov. Shana.
Everyone could say Shana, like Shana na na na. Shana is the year. Tova means good. Whatever that means, a good year.
Whatever that means. And I want to thank Christine. She's our technical host today. She's going to give us a quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
From Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you.
It's a quote that's very relevant for today about sort of seeing how we are living and how we are fighting for the things that we believe in, and what fighting means, in this way, to fight for something in a way that people will join you rather than pushing people away. Okay, so I think we're ready for our, Ruth, would you say celebration? It's not exactly a celebration, it's a deep contemplation.
A deep contemplation that ends ultimately in celebration. So thank you for inviting me. The criticalness of helpers, helping, how do we help? How do we help ourselves? How do we help others? What, in fact, is helpful? All of that is, is there for exploration. I was invited on Thursday. It's now Monday. I'm not sure exactly. I've been thinking about this, and I will do the best I can to give you a little bit of an experience of what this holiday or holy day is. And it is considered the holiest day of the year because it's the day of deepest contemplation and deepest seeing and deepest forgiving. These are the themes of the holiday. The forgiving of self and other. And it's a fast day. So you fast for 25 hours. And no sex and no good time. And you wear white. In Judaism, when you are buried, you're buried in a white shroud. And basically, you're asked to kind of wear this white kittel, it's called, shroud, and it's men. Still all of those divisions, although women are taking it on now, to wear this shroud because there's a kind of dying, a letting go, a real letting go that can happen after we've really taken the time to see. to own where we are. I mean, you do this every year. So every year it's another kind of review of where am I now? Yom Kippur, it translates as the Day of Atonement, which is also known as at one-ment. What is the relationship between atoning and being whole? Yom Kippur is the last day of what are called the High Holy Days, or the days of awe that begin with Rosh Hashanah, and then 10 days later end with Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year. We talk about it as the new year, but it's really the head of the year, the top part of the year, the crowning of the year. And it's also known as the birthday of the world. So we start with this birthday and we end with this something dying for something new to begin. But even before the 10 days, the month begins with the month of Elul, 29 days before Rosh Hashanah. The month begins with the shofar, blowing a shofar. Do people know what the shofar is? It's a ram's horn, and you blow it in a particular way during the high holidays, but it's basically a kind of wake up. That's what it's supposed to do. It's a wake up to remind you that we are entering a time of reflection that will culminate in these 10 days of awe. But we're beginning like, wake up. We're doing something here. I'm going to gong 3 times for us to wake up, and then I want to teach you a song. So find a comfortable, I hope you're sitting comfortably. Check in, are you comfortable? Could you be a little bit more comfortable? Because we just want you to be able to rest in presence in as comfortable a way as you can. 3 times, an invitation to wake up, to see into greater consciousness. And to breathe, to notice the breath. In the Jewish tradition in the Old Testament, it says, and the divine breathed the breath of life into this Adam. This Adam is red. This red earth, this material form. Each breath in, a being filled with what is needed. Each exhalation, a releasing of what is no longer needed, that is completed. So let's take a few breaths together. I'm just going to count with you. We'll breathe in through the nose and sigh out through the mouth. And then I'll do a song with you. So breathing in, filling ourselves and releasing out. Well, letting go. We don't need to carry that. And a breathing in through the nose. Sipping in breath and a sighing out. If you're Jewish, you could go, oi. If you're not Jewish, you can go, oi. Just letting it out. and to breathing in. Releasing. Taking a moment to just notice how you are. Observing any changes that may have already occurred. Quality of energy, quality of mind, perhaps. And then just go on back. 29 days before Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the high holiday, the shofar starts. The other thing is that the Torah portion, the portion of the Old Testament that is read exactly 4 weeks, that first week of Elul, the month of Elul, is a parsha called Re'eh in Hebrew. It means see, look, see visually, see. In mindfulness, we talk about a clearing of mind and an opening of heart so that we are better able to see. In focusing, we know when we pause, when we slow down, something else happens. And we know that when we touch difficult places in ourselves, that if we check in and say, what does this maybe need? Or could I, if I brought some gentleness here, how would that be? And we see what happens when we bring kindness and gentleness and compassion. When we see, when we can acknowledge something that is there, knowing that we can count on our practice, on ourselves as best as possible to be able to bear, to open up, to be with what arises, whether it's in meditation or in focusing. Or during this holiday when we are asked to atone. So what do we atone for? We atone for sins. In Hebrew, the word for sin, the phrase, comes out of the language for archery. A sin in Hebrew is being off the mark. You haven't done a horrible, terrible, miserable, isn't a huge moralistic judgment in anything. Off the mark. Okay, how do I see? How do I see? How do I wake up to seeing when I'm off the mark? How do I confess that to myself and perhaps to others? Because one of the traditions of the forgiveness practice at Yom Kippur is taking a look at where you've been off the mark, forgiving yourself, perhaps forgiving another, or perhaps asking for forgiveness from another. But the forgiveness practice is not between you and God. Here, it's like, unless it's about the relationship that you're doing something, it's about you. If you have hurt someone, you need to ask them direct forgiveness. You can't ask God to forgive you for what you did to them. You have to ask that other person to forgive you. Yes, and we ask ourselves also. And once we can really forgive, then perhaps there is a true releasing. a deep letting go of that which is, okay, we got it, we were off, we weren't so nice, we didn't do that as well as we would have liked to. Okay, welcome to being human, right? So I'm going to sing a song with you. We'll sing a song together, which basically sort of gives the feel of this holiday. When we face the truth of our, quote, our sins, the ways we're off the mark, and we make confession, the confession that is made in Yom Kippur is made as a collective. It is not one person making confession. The confession is a collective. The translation from the Hebrew is as follows. We have trespassed. We have dealt treacherously. We have robbed. We have slandered. We have acted perversely. We've done wrong. We've spoken falsehood. We've rebelled. We've been stiff-necked. You know, all the stuff of life. And I want to say this so clearly, that this is not about shaming. It's about the truth of our being, our attempts, our hard work, the ways it still doesn't work out, the ways we get down on ourselves. Why aren't I stronger? Why aren't I, you know, it's like, it's also, you know, an honoring of the truth of being human and the challenges of that. And that we all work with that all the time. So this is a more current one. These includes, for sins against you, the divine, the cosmic consciousness. For sin, we sin against you when we sin against ourselves, when we're off the mark with ourselves. For our failures of truth, we ask forgiveness. For pretending to emotions we don't feel. For using the sins, the offness of others to excuse our own. For refusing to admit our share in the troubles of others. For passing judgment without the knowledge of facts. And so on and so forth. We sin against you when we sin against ourselves for failures of love. So the other was failures of truth, failures of love. For using people as stepping stones to advancement, for confusing love and lust, very common. For hiding from others behind an armor of mistrust. I mean, there are all these, you know, we know this. We suffer with these things. Sometimes we're ashamed, but it's so much just all part of human, and we ask forgiveness. All of us as a collective. And then the rabbi or whoever is officiating says, Shalachti, I pardon you. I know you're really doing the best you can. It's okay. It's the birthday of the year. Let's start again. This whole process of cleaning out, honoring who we are, forgiving ourselves and others, letting things go, making room for the next, and honoring our lives, our own souls. So this is the song that I'm finally getting to. It goes. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Join me, okay? Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Once more. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to what you are. Let's do that. Return to what you are. Return to who you are. Return to who you are. Return to where you are right now. Born and reborn again. Every moment, a new breath, a new creation. Every year, every moment, right? Born and reborn again right here, as well as where else later on, but right here. The importance of loving and forgiving and acknowledging how hard it is to be human, how hard each of us are working, the work you are doing. It was very hard for me. Usually at this time, you send out cards saying, Shana Tova, have a healthy and a happy new year. I couldn't write happy. I said, a healthy year, and may we be strong and connected, because we need to be. The spark of the consciousness of love that is at the center of our beingness, and what helps it to burn brightly, and what are the things that bring in greater darkness, and how can we help ourselves open to being and doing the things that help us to be the lights that we are, that we can be, and need, God knows, need to be at this time. So this is a story that I've been telling since the results of the 2016 election. The story is as follows. My mother, my parents were immigrants. My mother's family, with everyone with the exception of one sister, there was a family of 11 were killed in the Holocaust. And so that's part of my background, makeup. And my mother also just suffered from pretty severe depression. It's the day of the Kent State killings. I'm living in California. I come home and very upset. And anyhow, the phone rings in the evening. It's my mother. She says, I've been trying to call you all day. This is before answering machines. She said, I was just worried about you. And then she said, then I realized you're probably at a demonstration. And I said, yes, because you raised me right. And then she said, well, I'm calling only for one reason. And this is a woman who's very depressed, very meek, what we used to call an inferiority complex, that kind of. And she said, I'm calling to tell you that the first, and this booming voice comes out, the first thing those fascists do is try to demoralize you. So do not get demoralized. Whoa. Was like, who knew? Who knew that she had that in her and knew that? So we cannot be demoralized. So this is the exercise I'm going to do. So first, just, come, take a few breaths. Take a breath or two, Richard P. Brown teaches as part of the breath, body, mind practices, which are anti-trauma. He says, just with as you're seeing me sitting down, my arms would be, palms are up, hands are on my lap, and you just breathe in on a count of 4, and you breathe out on the count of 4, just letting arms, just breathing in, taking in that breath, yeah, and bringing it down into the earth, right into the ground, into your center, and taking in and filling up and reaching out, letting it fill the whole body and back down to the earth and grounding. And last time, and returning to your normal breath, your own rhythm. And closing eyes if that feels right, or just gently softening. Returning to the land of your soul. This time of reflection, this day of tshuva, which in English is translated as repentance, but the word in Hebrew comes from the root word return. Day of returning. Breathing in and out, really noticing the body and allowing yourself to inhabit it a bit more. Then asking yourself, how am I doing right now in my life? How am I? And to listen with a kindness and an interest as if you were asking your own best friend. And God willing, you are asking your own best friend right here. How am I feeling about how I'm doing right now? What can I appreciate here? What do I appreciate about how I'm living and what I'm doing? And my intentions and efforts. And what aspect of self can I count on in myself? Hard worker. Really devoted. I care. I'm always interested in growth. I have a great sense of humor. Whatever. What can you count on? Because you can, and you do. And what is something that you've struggled with and maybe is not so useful anymore? And it's really time to forgive, to let go, to clean out, just to clean out, to let the breath come in, fill you with light, breathing out, letting go. Let that carbon dioxide go back to the greens, they're going to use it for psychosynthesis. Let it go. Be transformed. Make room for the new. This new breath that'll fill you up and bring fresh air. The fresh, the new, each moment, each breath. And what is one thing that you would like to bring to yourself that will feed you, that will care for you, that will help you, that soothes you during this time? What's one thing? Maybe there's a prayer or a psalm or I'm going to paint every week or make sure I do that wall, because that will help me be strong. And I will be fed by nature. What? We are working so hard, and we are being asked to work so hard. And I know we wouldn't be here if we weren't committed. In Hebrew, there's this phrase, tikkun hanefesh, the repair of the soul, and tikkun ha'olam, the repair of the world. And they're two sides of the same coin. We repair the soul, and that repairs the world, and a repaired world will feed and allow the soul to expand. To be, we could be in greater soulness and greater connectedness, and create birthday of the new, a birthday of the world that of social justice, of care, of forgiveness, of connectedness, of unity, of not demeaning, a world of greater truth, of less corruption, and on and on and on. So, breathing in, breathing out, letting your own heart be wide open to yourself and the good work, the good effort that comes through. The work we do on the soul to be bigger vessels for the work that the world needs right now. Just quiet for about 2 minutes here, and I'll ring the gong and we'll all come back together, okay? Just to be with yourself for a bit. Being called back. Many levels of being called back, right? Amazing. I just want to thank everyone for your willingness to. So I hope that whatever space I took up was useful.
One of the things that came for me as I was doing that, the reflection was, so I kind of used the focusing question, so what's between me and returning to the land of my soul? And I noticed that I had this sense of obstacles along the way. Maybe I'll fly over them and get to the land of my soul. The focusing process, which we've all found, of relating with presence and kindness and curiosity and all of that to the obstacles, provide pathways to that land. I love the song. I've sung it at the services that I've been in for many years. I liked the song and I liked the melody, but there was something that was missing in the song, which is how. And you know, it's a great intention, but there's something about our focusing-ish stuff that we do that I think helps that happen.
I was thinking that also, that returning to where you were born and reborn again is the focusing movement, right to the crux of where you're struggling.
You know how Jean never wanted to use the word spirituality because it would turn off people and everyone has a different understanding of it and so on and so forth. But this work, you know, Jean finally did say, it brings us to the doorway, to the threshold of entering kind of a spiritual dimension. And meaning something more expanded, the great mystery, the great, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been true for me from the beginning. That focusing is an entryway to many things and to an expansion, a consciousness expansion, yeah, and a heart expansion. Right?
One of the things I love is that it takes the shame out of the word sin. There's no shame in it.
I went to a service in a big tent in Woodstock a few years ago. He talked about Yom Kippur as creating a community, creating a judgment-free zone. I love that phrase, and I think that that's what focusing is creating a judgment-free zone. And I also appreciated, Ruth, you're talking about how Yom Kippur is a confession collectively.
Yeah.
And I think that we have a lot of complexity around political and social grief and shame and guilt and defensiveness, and that this ancient holiday has something to give us around collective cleansing that isn't shaming, because shaming is demoralizing.
Exactly.
Your mother wouldn't have liked that because it demoralizes you.
That's right.
But shame is not helpful. But the sense of collective responsibility,
Yes.
that we can clear something and set our intention together without shame, I think is a contribution of this ancient tradition for us.
Rebbe Nachman of Breslov was a very famous Hasidic Rebbe, a mystic. And he said these two things I want to leave you with. One is me'at ma'od, the words of just look a little bit more. Just look for a little bit more good in yourself and the other. Just, Robert Lee used to ask the question, what's the smallest move you can make in that direction? Right? What's the smallest move? So just look a little bit, for a little bit more good in yourself and others. And the other thing that he said was that and in keeping with political activist prisoners presence like Václav Havel, he talked about hope. And hope being Havel spoke about hope being a quality of the soul. And Rabbi Nachman says it's a sin not to hope, because we don't know what will come. And we're a little arrogant if we think we know what will be. So how to put in the energies of hope, even when we're feeling despairing and frightened and demoralized, as my mother would say. How do we care for ourselves so that we can keep up our strength? And how do we care for each other? Because this is a long haul. We're in the long haul. And we've been practicing for a long time. And we're really needed on so many levels, from a subtle activism to a big activism. So what was the other thing I thought I would read here, which was basically criticism breaks down the inner spirit. Excessive, being critical. So, praise builds it up. Praise yourself as much as you can in a real way. The knowing of the good work, the ayatma, or just a little bit more of seeing who you are in your greater fullness. And tell yourself every day how well you're doing, every little bit. So like a little bit of a it's a form of, it's not a gratitude practice in terms of saying thank you for, but it is a kind of practice of compassion and of the building up of the muscles of the soul and the spirit, not tearing them down. And, risking all the disappointments and the hard work and bearing the suffering, the heartbreak of all of this as we do our work. So just a little bit more and be nice to yourself and notice, not just nice, it just sounds silly, but kind. And seeing the truth of all of what you do. There is truth. We're not doing Pollyannish stuff here. There's the truth of that. So
Thank you so much, Ruth.
thank you so much for everyone.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, to life. May it be a good one for all of us. Thank you, Trevor.
I just want to thank everybody for being here and for supporting each other and for giving your contributions.